not submitted them, to please do so. I am new to Anacortes, and I'm wondering, what do we want to be? I understand the port owns most or all of the waterfront property. I understand the need for family wage jobs, but what about waterfront restaurants and other waterfront activities that also add to the economy?
Well, I believe in, like Pat said it, and something I say when I canvass door to door, I really believe there's gotta be balance, and we've gotta meet the community needs as well as the mission of the port, which is economic development and trade, as well as recreation. I think recreation is a big part of that, and tourism. So I know where the port is reaching out and trying to meet some of that is with the boating, the small boat community that they have there with oars, and with that Alliance or Anacortes Small Boating Alliance. Anyway, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and the port supports a lot of that, and I think that's really important. As well as we have boardwalks and whatnot, and there is Anthony's. I don't think it's the port's mission to build a bunch of restaurants. We have property available for that. I believe that the port does try to find ways, and I think they do a good job at that, of meeting the community needs, and we ask about it. I know I've been going door to door asking everyone, what would you like? And they say public access. And I'm like, what does that look like? And they're like, well, we want more of a walking trail, or we want to be able to get kayaks out into Fidalgo Bay and do more of that, and maybe support that. I know they do provide some of that at seafarers, but I think there's more that maybe we can do to provide that. It can't be just all business. It's got to meet the community needs as well.
I'm a strong advocate of making sure that Secret Cove remains a restaurant. We are an island. We have one restaurant on the water. We need more than that. We used to have Slocum's, we used to have Charlie's, we used to have Compass Rose. All those restaurants have gone away, which is a shame. And we have all new ones downtown too. So we have a lot of restaurants, but they tend to be full. I like the waterfront access. Whatever we do around that marina, there'll always be a walkthrough where you can go walk through it. I don't think we'd ever give that up. And I know when MJB builds, they're gonna do a promenade too. So it'll probably go all the way along and down to the Thompson Trail by the time this is all over. Hopefully the people come out and enjoy every Seafarers concert. It seems like it's packed. So we have to keep that open for the public and let people come there. So we do have other pads, so what do you guys want there? What's important to you? Do we need more restaurants? Do we need another hotel? What does the community want? Because when you start asking consultants and building things, it gets expensive to pitch it to you and then it'll fall flat. So it's like if we get input ahead of time, then maybe if we know, let MJB, let them build out, let them do what they're gonna do. And then what's left? What do we need after that? And see what we need and how it fits the area.
Shane, could you please repeat the question? I just want to make sure I catch all the aspects of it. My answer is 42.
Just for you this once. I'm new to Anacortes, and I'm wondering, what do we want to be? I understand the port owns most or all of the waterfront property. I understand the need for family wage jobs, but what about waterfront restaurants and other waterfront activities that also add to the economy?
Thank you. So that's actually a pretty nice segue to the north and west basement development that is in the forefront right now. And a lot of people boil it down to the event center. The event center is an element of that. It's one of the pads that Mary referred to, but adjacent to that there's two other pads that are perfectly situated, at least in the concepts, to be right there near the event center, and their use has not been defined, but a restaurant would be great there. I was able to go to the Port of Everett during a port report down there in July and see what they've done down there. And at their waterfront place, I'll just read you a little litany of the new businesses that are there because of the efforts down there. So we were able to actually, we were able to actually tour, but recently in August, Marina Azul Cocina and Cantina just announced they have a 10-year lease as of August 10th. They're gonna be down there with Netshed, Rustic Cork Wine Bar, Taps Public House, Menchie's Fisherman Jacks, and the South Fork Baking Company. Also, they're making sure they engage with the city because Everett is gonna be a FIFA zone for those of you who are soccer fans in 2026. So that shows you some of the potential. You know, the ED there, Lisa Lefebvre, this doesn't mean that she disregards other things, or she calls her triple bottom line lens, environment, quality of life, and creating jobs, and I think she's pretty much hit the nail on the head. As far as public access goes, that is the fourth of my guiding principles, and I believe strongly in that. And hopefully we'll get a question that we can expound upon that a little bit more later on. Thank you.
Bob, I'm going to ask you a quick follow-up just for you because you're talking about Everett and their waterfront. That was a pretty expensive project. What did it cost?
I'll have to get back to you on the total price, but I know it was, I'm not going to name a number, but it was definitely north of dozens of millions, yes.
Well, we won't be having another forum for port candidates. Two's more than enough. But I think that's a really important question for us all to know and understand, and whether that's a realistic goal for us here. But I go down there and it's really nice. Okay, all right. Well, y'all have talked about doing things that add to the economy. What about things that don't add to the economy but add to quality of life? How would you support small recreational voters like ours, or like the Anacortes voting community, or the Anacortes High School sailing team, or just recreational boaters, me and my kayak just going into the bay? So what's the port's role there, and what would you do if you are a port commissioner?
I'm already doing a lot of the stuff that I would do. The boat show does donate a lot of money to the sailing team, so we've bought a lot of their boats. I don't know how many over time, but the last 3-4 years we've given them the majority of the money. And we also give it to the tech college. But
Mary, I'm sorry, excuse me for interrupting you. I'm asking what you would do if you were a port commissioner.
Right, I would continue with those things because a lot of the groundwork that we've done and the Seafarers Memorial Park and the concerts and all that, we would continue to do all that because we want the community to come down. The difference between us and Everett in that big area is they have a lot of land. We don't. So we have to be particular what we put there and what it'll do to the parking. Parking is one of our biggest issues, and it's because we don't have enough land. So we have to be picky on what we put there. And I want, nobody in this marine industry has made money because of just big boats. You have to start with a small boat. Sometimes it's a kayak, sometimes it's a paddleboard. So all of that creates future jobs down the road. When these kids all get addicted to these little sailboats and they go, man, I want to own one of my own. We have to support everything from $0 all the way up to the mega millions. We have to do that. And that is what sustains our industry for a long period of time.
I was really excited yesterday when I was at the meeting that everyone else was at, and we started talking about making sure that there was an economy of scale and that there would be provisions for small boats and to make provisions for oars and also the Anacortes voting community. And one of the things that I know that when I've met with them several times and going down there and talking to them because I'm really interested in it, eventually I'll be able to get a kayak, tuck my wife into it. Anyway, so I can go out in Fidalgo Bay. I've gone out there by Skyline, it's a little scary. So anyway, so I digress. So one of the things that we talked about and looked at was there's potential there to put in a boathouse, and I think that's really important, that there's a place where people can not only do maintenance on their boats, but how cool would it be to have also a small section there for any hobbyists that would like to build their boats. I know it's one thing to learn how to sail, but how wonderful as a teenage young adult or even an older adult to have that time and a place to go do that. I think that would be really phenomenal. I think there's lots of ways that we can support small boating, and that's just one of the ways that I would support as Port Commissioner.
So, excuse me, public access obviously has a lot of different meanings for how you like to recreate in the maritime environment, right? If you're a kayaker, you may chuckle when you see the walkway that's covered in brambles where you bring your boat down to the water down by P&Q dock. So, you know, there's some things we could definitely improve there. I'm very dedicated to the maritime culture of our community, both, you know, the fishermen and everyone who just enjoys being in a boat, no matter what size. The kiddos that come here for the competition from middle school all the way up to high school, I mean, like Mary said, it lights a fire on them. And I've talked to plenty of parents and teachers who said that, yeah, my kid's in middle school and he's sailing. He never had that opportunity, and he's so excited about it. And he's doing his homework because he wants to make sure that he can go out there and sail. I'm also very sensitive to the condition of P&Q dock. I used to have a Lido out on Q dock, and I know how easy it is to slip your boat in the water and go out sailing from there. And that comes into play with our, you know, we talk about our youth and competition and the things that they have the opportunities to do in a seaside community like ours. The high schoolers really, they're on the Q dock side. The middle schoolers are over by Seafarers Memorial. The high schoolers really need that kind of dock, a floating dock that's inches over the water, that they can push their boats into the water right away and maximize the time, especially as the days shorten, like right now, and spend every amount of time on the water that they can, instead of running up and trailering back. By the time they got all the boats in the water, the sun would have set. So we're very, you know, I have been and talked to the folks in Oars, and I also spend time on the water with ACB. So I fully understand that, and I think that's something that we absolutely have to protect, especially for our youth.
Okay. Let's talk about the event center. Do you support it or not?
I absolutely support it. I think this is an excellent way for the port to support our community. What I was really excited about, and I hope everyone else was, if you had a chance to go to that meeting or watch it online, I was so impressed at how the city council and the port worked together on this venture. And it was all recognizing a need, as we saw with the terminal building, when we had to pull that back, and that was critical that we put some industry in there, and it was all part of their comprehensive plan, that eventually they were going to put a business in there. We really needed something else, and I like that they got together and worked on that, and I know that's also been part of the comprehensive plan for the city for a long, long time, but no one really had the full resources. So how wonderful to use a part of that property and let the city build it, which they're gonna use hotel taxes for. So it's, you know, taxes that they've saved up, as well as when they do bonds, it'll pay for it from hotel taxes. It's gonna be a great opportunity. They're also gonna be giving the city 12 days for nonprofits. So we'll be able to still support the arts community as well as the music community, which I think is vital. It's a chance for us as Anacortes to get together as a community. It's the things that you don't see that are so important, and that's Anacortes being together. And yes, it does bring in tourism, which is important as well and part of our mission. So I strongly support that.
Okay, this is where we differ. I do not support it. The reason I don't support it is MJB is planning to build a 400-seat event center with a hotel and a restaurant. They're a private business, so they can build it for a third less than the port can build it in the city. Having it in the marina, if you go down to the marina in the summer on a Saturday, you can't find a place to park. So now you're gonna take a building and put it in the parking lot, and then you're gonna invite 400 people to come there. Where are they gonna park? And when the doors are open and the bands are screaming, where's the noise gonna go? It's gonna go to the neighbors, and it's gonna go to the marina. And we're not in the recreation business. That's not our business. And if you ask any developer about an event center, they are losers. They're not financially stable unless you do have a hotel and you do have a restaurant. And if you do have a COVID event and it's shut down and there's no income, where does the income come from? Do you get taxed? How is that gonna work? There are so many better things that we could put on our property that would be more useful for people, and we won't be competing with another business. So There's already the Majestic, there's already the casino, there's all these other venues. So now we're gonna be competing against them, and that is not the role of the port. So there are other things we could do that would be more stable economically, and they wouldn't cost as much money, and LTAC, instead of giving it for the building, could give it to those nonprofits to pay for their rents at whatever facility they wanted to go to. And that just makes more sense to me.
Can I address that?
That's a Bob answer.
Thank you. So the event center is always a very emotional issue. When the transit shed went away, it was an emotional issue for me. That was where my son had his wedding reception, and so it has very fond memories of that. However, guess who's in there now? Cortland International. Cortland International has expanded into the transit shed. They also brought employees up from Texas, and they also moved into other warehouse space on the waterfront. So it has been returned to a working waterfront. So that, from my old emotional perspective, it's tough, but it's exactly what it should be doing right now, and we're lucky to have Cortland International aboard. As far as, are you in favor of the event center? I'm absolutely in favor of it. But as I've joked with my wife, it's love, but it's not unconditional love. It has to be economically feasible. And I think that the ILAs, the interlocal agreements that have been agreed upon by the city and the port, help reduce risk to the taxpayer. There are off-ramps at 30, 60, 30%, 60%, and 90% of design. So you have a chance, both the city and the port, in those documents, have a chance for an off-ramp and say, we don't want to play in this particular event. And by the way, I don't know anybody who has a set of plans for MJB, or the permits haven't even started yet. So the plan for the hotel is really at the back end of their phasing, from what I have understood, and that's probably 8 to 10 years out. So if you're patient, you're all set.
Barbara, we're getting a little fuzziness in the mics up here. I
I'm
don't know
wondering
there's-
if your mic is feeding back, 'cause
No,
it
when it's
doesn't
in
happen when
time.
her and I are talking, but it does when it's him.
Turn yours off when they talk.
If I turn it off, I'll forget to turn it on, and everybody get mad at me.
No, we'll be happy.
No, I'll move farther away though, thank you.
Can I address
Yes.
that? Okay, what I'd like to address on that, and I think it's so wrong, it does not compete. What it's offering is a large space for like the boat show and many opportunities for conferences. It doesn't compete, it doesn't have a restaurant in it. There's plenty of hotels here. It's there to support it. It's gonna bring business in. It's gonna get people out into downtown Anacortes. I don't see how it competes. And it is a revenue making because we will be leasing it out. As far as parking, they are going to be building more parking, and if you were at that meeting, you would have heard that they're going to have over 800 parking spots. And most of the time, they're only gonna be using about 700, I think, what do you say, 59 spots that would probably be used. There's only 6 times a year when we're over capacity on parking. We didn't have parking at the transit shed. You know, we never have enough parking at these events. Now, if you go uptown, you know, there's lots of parking up there, but are people up there? No, they're not. Maybe we find a solution, like maybe a shuttle or some way to get people, let them park uptown and come downtown. There's always that. But you know, no matter what, we always kind of figure it out, don't we? We always manage to get to these events, we find a place to park. So, yeah, a little inconvenient maybe for some of the folks that live aboard. I'm sorry, yes, it's probably inconvenient for just those few times a year.
Mary?
It's more than a few times a year. Anybody that's a tenant in that marina knows that it's all summer. So especially when there's a farmer's market or anything else, and it does compete with local businesses, and they have actually talked about it. And MJB's like, that was in our plan for a long time. I think eventually they'll kick this off and plan it. But we have to start looking at things as long-term, and whatever we put there's gonna be there for a long time, and we really have to think it through. And the tenants are gonna demand parking. So it's gonna be, a big portion will be blocked off for the tenants. So the parking is going to be an issue.
Okay, let's ask a follow-up question about those interlocal agreements. Bob, I'm gonna start with you because you've already brought them up and you sound like you're very supportive of the interlocal agreements. Is there anything that's not, is everybody familiar with the interlocal agreements? No. Well then, Bob, you take a little bit and explain it, and then is there anything missing from those interlocal agreements? You went 30, 60, 90, but once you start building, are you really gonna back off?
You better make sure. So let me start with I'll answer the first part of the question. So there really are 3 interlocal agreements that had to be agreed upon in order to move forward with this project. The first one was actually rerouting, if you've ever lived the dream of trying to cross the 5-road intersection down by the port and the dog park, that will go away, and it's going to be a much smoother flow down Market Street there. So that was the first one, because there had to be some property swaps to make that happen. So between the port and the city, those were taken care of, so you can have that. That also opens up the promenade, which talks about the access to the water. When you come down 9th Avenue, it's like, wow, you can actually see the ocean, which is a pretty impressive thing because there's a park right there. The other 2 that are directly involved with the event center, the first one is the interlocal agreement that addresses the construction, and that one, it's clearly defined, that the city will actually pay for the building, the port will operate it, but that's in the second ILA. So the first one is about construction, and it goes through the T's and C's of actually building that building, and the second one is about operations, which the port will be responsible for. Now there's, to Shay's point, there, you have to understand, how much money you have going in, and it's been, we talked about the LTAC funding to do that, and there is a delta there, and the city council fully recognizes the fact that all the money isn't there, and right now in the ILA, the target price for the facility is $8 million. The last time I think that they looked at it, it looked like it might be north of that. So they had another meeting within the last week where the Port City Committee got together and with the architects and talked about, hey, we need to take the price out of this because we've come to this agreement about price. So they're actively working that, and it's exactly correct. It'll be that will be any delta between the LTAC funds put down and paid will be debt, and LTAC will be able to pay the service on that debt yearly, and so that's the plan going forward. But again, that's why you have those off ramps to reduce risk.
Terry.
Well, you kind of said it all. Okay, you have another question?
I will, but then I want to give Mary an opportunity.
Oh.
Mary, you do not support the event center, and yet it was passed unanimously by both city council and the port commissioners. So now we have the ILA. What's your opinion of those ILAs?
Well, I think the biggest issue is, what is it actually really gonna cost? They have these off-ramps because if the cost gets too high, they're gonna bail. But the bottom line is, how much money are we gonna spend before they bail? And, last time it was 800,000 when we toyed with this, and 200 of it was still being able to be used for the groundwork that was done, the feasibilities and all that. So that part wasn't wasted, but 600,000 was wasted. And we don't have an event center. So, it's just like the roundabout at Safeway, 500,000 was wasted. And we don't have a roundabout now, we have a different project. So we have to really think before we build. I think that's really important. And what does this community need the most? Let other people build out, then whatever's left, and what do we want on our waterfront, and how much space is there, and how much noise do we wanna bring in? What is it that we wanna do? How is it gonna affect the tenants in the marina, the people that live in the neighborhood? All that has to be looked at, and I think that's gonna take a lot of public meetings.
I can tell you what I've heard, what the maximum cost is, and I don't believe they wanna go as high, the city wants to go as high as 9 million. And I know they are trying to find ways to change the construction to take it down less. And, Ryan Walters was very clear about saying that when he was, addressing the whole community as well as the board and, the port commissioners as well. Those LOAs, those are so important for us to have a guideline. Now, I wanna say that they are providing a lot of open meetings and stuff, as everyone can be there, part of that planning and give your input. That's what's really important, because the only way we're gonna really know what everyone wants is for everyone to start giving us input. And I think that's really important. I'm very grateful that they are working together to try to find some way to help our community feel strong and get together. So.
Okay. We don't have a lot of time left, and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance for a closing statement, and I want to wake everybody up who's fallen asleep here. But I have a few questions left, so we're going to play a lightning round. Okay? So 60 seconds for an answer. Had you been on the port commission, would you have voted yes or no on creation of the RV park? No, he goes last.
I know what you're.
I would have voted no. We had a paved parking lot, we had multi-generations of families coming there, we had no, the only impact it really had to the marina was the parking and the bathrooms. The bathrooms were kind of an issue because they didn't have their own bathroom. But, our marina's falling apart, so do we need a new shiny dime before we fix our infrastructure? I guess that's my conservative side of spending, is I don't wanna spend money when things are falling apart. But now only 25 people can go there, and it's mostly expensive motorhomes, when it used to be tents, and it used to be trailers, and you had grandma and grandpa, the parents and the kids there. And I walked through it I've been in the marina since '87, and it's worked, and it had no overhead other than to grade it, and they made $25 a night on each spot, and there were way more spots, so, you know, I think after the marina's built out, the marina itself, that's when you start thinking about event centers and RV parks and what else you're gonna do. But if you don't even have the money to fix your own structure, I would have voted no on that.
I would have voted yes. And, you know, I just think it's important to understand that instead of parking, you know, we need to do something that's gonna generate revenue. And yes, there was one there before and it was kind of beat up. But yeah, I know you guys aren't too happy with that, and that's okay. I would have voted yes. It was a good business decision, period. And what they're bringing in and bringing in tourism, it's great. I would have voted yes. So I thought it was a very good business decision from a business perspective. What's that?
I think it's a waste of money.
6 million.
Well, then you run for port commissioner in a couple of years, huh?
Yeah.
People were starting to camp there that shouldn't have camped.
Yeah, so I would have voted yes as well, because I see that as part of the phasing of improvements that we have to our community. So when we're developing the north and west basins, like we're talking now, like to Mary's point, I talked to somebody here who's out on ODOC. We just finished at least Band-Aid fixing J through N, right? So now we have to take care of the entire north basin, but things come in phases. Was ideally, I wasn't there, but ideally to go to the RV park first. That was the decision that was made at that time. Now that's in the past, and I know that you know, not everybody's happy with that, but now we're focused on making sure that the west and north basin in those particular projects are executed properly. Thank you.
Okay, next quick question, 60 seconds. If we didn't have Seafarers Park and the building there today, but you had the opportunity to create them today, would you do it or not?
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful place for like the concerts. It's providing also more public access to the water. I think it's a great opportunity. I wish it would have been more what it was originally intended for, and I would have liked to see a little bit more space there for small boats and stuff for people to do maintenance and whatnot. And I also see that it's serving a great purpose right now. And I believe you can even rent kayaks out of there, right? So, yeah, I'm hoping to do so soon. Okay, thank you.
We agree. I would definitely, but I would have never sold the ESD building, because that's where an event center should be. That building would have been perfect for that, and it has its own parking, and it's away from people, so if it was noisy, it wouldn't have mattered. But we don't have that anymore, but, yeah, that was intended to be a small boat place. So it wasn't supposed to just be a recreational venue, but it's great, and more people get to use it this way, but it did kind of rob the small boat center from what they were supposed to get. So, you know, again, it's land, how much land we have and what we put on it, and what the public wants. To me, it's not, to me, as much the 5 of us voting, it's what you want. Because at that last event center, so many people came out after we spent all this money and they said no. So I'd rather see you come out early and come out strong and say what you want. What do you need here that you do not have that the port could possibly facilitate? I'm more interested in that than 5 people making the decisions for everybody in town.
I think this goes back to some of our previous conversation about the positive things that a port can do that a private entity cannot. I don't think I'd want to see Chris Eager and the Powerhouse Horns at the Scott Paper Mill waste site, right? So because you have a port that went and cleaned up that environmental site, you now have a beautiful site that you can go and you can see bands play all summer long. You can go out and enjoy lunch out on the beach. So that I view that as very positive. I absolutely would have made sure that we invested in that, turned it around from an environmental cleanup into a beautiful place where our citizens can enjoy their time.
One last question from me, and then you're each going to get to make your closing statements. As I've said at previous forums, when I want to get to know a candidate, I look at their Public Disclosure Commission reports, who's supporting them, how much have they raised, what are they spending it, and I look at their websites. And all of you, frankly, have given great answers tonight to all of the questions, and all of you have very nice and informative websites. However, all of your websites are a big wish list with relatively little specificity. So, I'm gonna ask each of you, related to your own website. Bob, your website calls for a vision for balanced growth, and you go on and pretty much quote a lot of the port's mission statement. But I don't see anything specific in what you plan to do. So can you give us maybe 3 of the part of your vision for the port?
Yes, absolutely. I think if we can go back to review, balanced growth talks about being environmentally responsible and also growing, whether it's, jobs and commerce, right? So the port already has a very good plan in the capital improvement plan, and we'll be updating that as well. But as we move forward, I see a lot of opportunity how we can help people out as far as jobs go and environmentally. And I think TDOC, which is in progress right now, but that's the same kind of project that in the future I'd be very proud to be part of. That particular effort shows the professionalism of the staff, because they basically they will double the amount of square footage that you have there. It will also increase the amount of pounds per square foot that you're going to be able to load there. And guess what? TDOC brings in about $14 million of revenue just across their fish. And understanding the environment and the professionals on the staff that are very good at that. In order to do any kind of overwater construction, the litany of acronyms that you have to go through to make that happen environmentally is just mind-boggling. The staff knew exactly how to walk right up to the line that they needed to go before you really go into just a chasm of just you cannot do kind of thing. So they built that thing as much as they could over water, expanded as much as they could, and in order to increase commerce, but they did it in an environmentally responsible manner. Looks like I might get one more. Okay. So then another one would be how do we grow? this is a high dollar amount, but you could just do some dredging there at Pier 2. And by doing some dredging at Pier 2, you could bring in larger vessels. We're at about 37.5 feet of draft right now. You could get some Panamax in there and probably increase some of the volume and throughput of our bulk cargo, bring bulk cargo through the port. Thank you. We've got two.
Okay, Mary, tonight you said everything I do is marine related. Am I on?
No.
No. See, that's what happens when you tell me to turn it off. No? Okay, I'm just gonna use my mommy voice.
Yeah. There you go.
So Mary, tonight you said everything you do is marine related. Your experience is extensive and lengthy. You've been involved with so many marine trades and marine businesses, and it is your own business. I won't go there. The port is more than just the marina. And it is more than just bringing revenues straight into the coffers of the port. So can you give us 3 examples of how you will be paying attention to the port as a whole and the community interests?
So I'm not just about the marina, a lot of people say that, but that's the infrastructure that's hot at hand, that's starting to fall apart. So whatever the closest fire is what you do take care of. But the Deepwater Port is a passion of mine too. Just because I'm a boater and I have a boat and I'm interested in the marina, I'm also interested in the deepwater portion. And I've flown in small planes, I love the airport, we've got the ferry terminal, I'd love to see more stuff down there. There's a lot we can do, but we need to beef up some money so we can put some money away instead of spending it all the time. We need to get some skin in the game so we can start moving forward. We have properties, but no money to develop them. And there's actually some properties for sale right now that would be so advantageous for us to pick up, but we don't have the money to do that. So we have to start working with the Deepwater Port where we already have infrastructure to get new customers. And yeah, it'd be really nice to dredge, because I agree with Bob, you dredge, you can get some deeper boats in. But that takes money also, so you have to figure out with the budget that we have, what is it that we're gonna do next? And I look at all phases of the port because all of them are important. But our biggest chance to make money is the Deepwater Port, and we have to sustain the marina. That right now is 58% of our income. So we can't let it fall apart. We need to keep that together, and then we need to build up some more stuff where we don't need infrastructure that we already have. So that would be my plan, is to work on that. Find out why aren't we shipping fertilizer? Why aren't we shipping potatoes or other things? Why can't we find new customers for that to make more money? And make it something that's not good for the neighbors, put it that way, because there's sometimes when the neighbors complain if there's too much noise or too many things going on. So we have to balance it, and I would love to see you guys all go to Sitka, because it's a small town like this, the cruise ships come in and they ruin the whole town, the whole time they're there. It's awful. And we don't want that here. We don't want that.
Terry, I wanna thank you, as well as Bob, for your Navy service and how it's relevant here, and your experience with economic development. However, as far as I can tell, you have had no previous relationship with this or any other port. So I'd like to know what you've learned about the port that will make you a good commissioner since you have filed for this office, and give us also some examples of how you would actually accomplish any of the wonderful wish list that's on your website.
Oh, okay. Wow, there's a lot of things on my wish list.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, you know, I have been studying a lot. I've been going to all the meetings. I've got materials here that I've been reading through, understanding their comprehensive plan and the 2008 comprehensive plan. I think that's so important to know what they're looking at in the future, as well as that meeting we attended yesterday, looking at the North Basin development and our redevelopment. And I really feel that even though I haven't had much opportunity with the port, I have such a strong foundation in board leadership, and a lot of it part of that job is the board. But I have a good understanding, I think, of the port by just going around, talking to everyone, going door to door, finding out what the needs are, talking to a lot of voters, getting a better understanding of what some of the needs are. There's a lot of local voters that don't feel like they're, that they're being priced out of a public port. And, the other thing I've been thinking a lot about too is, I know the port's looking at doing some, putting in more electricity on the various piers and whatnot. And I think that's critical. They're gonna look at doing that, and I think that's an important project. And I hope I get a chance to be part of that as well, of bringing electricity to that, as well as all the other ports, and also developing the area for the barges. I think what's important for that is that also helps the environment, because it's gonna mean less fossil fuel being run, and boats using is they can turn off their engines instead of idling them and actually hook up to shore power. Shore power is critical. And I would like to be part of it and see if we can't come up with some more policies around our environment to better protect our port and the water surrounding Anacortes.
Thank you. I've overrun the allotted time, but you're all still awake, so let's give the candidates each an opportunity to make their closing statements. Mary.
Okay, so, I've spent my life working around ports, and it's not something you can just jump into and know all the acronyms and know all the stuff. It takes years, and like with TDOC, when we went into TDOC, that was on the thing 8 years that I was on there. It came up at every meeting. I've attended hundreds of meetings. I am very well versed at the port. My experience is specific to this port and to other local ports, because I do work in those other ports, and I do sponsor events, and I know a lot of people there. I know what the boaters want. I know I've talked to people at the airport. What are you guys looking for? I think it's really important to have somebody that'll go out in the community and actually talk to the people. I do that all day for a living. I work between insurance companies, ports, and people, all day long. That's what I do. I've done it for 40 years. I'm at the height of my career. I've got a lot of connections in this line of work, and I'm not just jumping in to be on a board. That's not why I'm doing it. I can do a lot of things other than that. I'm doing it so that I can really take my expertise and come in and help. And I think I have the connections to be able to help. And I think that you have to really understand the marine world, and it is a unique world. And I have that understanding, and I hope that it's not a popularity contest. It's who's right for the job, and I feel like I'm right for the job.
I have a very strong foundation in leadership, collaborating, and learning to work as a team, and I think that's critical if you're going to set a board. I do have a strong foundation also in board experience, in budgeting experience. I have the foundation. I'm a quick learner, and I'll tell you, I've been sent to many jobs throughout my career, huge jobs. I went from carrier to aviation carrier, then aviation again, and then expeditionary. Did I know anything about them? No, I knew about their mission, and I had that strong foundation of leadership, that strong foundation of being able to collaborate and to sit there and govern, that I was able to execute the mission, that I was able to do these jobs. Did I learn those platforms? Absolutely. And did I have to learn quickly? Yeah, and I did. I think if anyone thinks you're gonna jump into a board position and do this and think that's gonna be easy, it's not. It's gonna take some time. I don't care who you are, and I don't care how versed you are. And yes, I walk door to door to door to door. I've been canvassing, and if I haven't got your house, I'm sorry, but I hope to be there soon. So I do wanna hear what people are saying. I think it's gotta continue too. And I wanna make sure I get out there and I continue to listen to you all. I'm honored to have the support of former excellent port commissioners of Ray Naver, Ken Goodwin, Joe Verdos, and Keith Rubin. They know what it takes to be a commissioner, effective commissioner, and they believe in me, and that's important. I have the core principle of personal integrity, fair pay, and the environment, and most importantly, I really wanna make a difference. It's an honor to be here, and I would really love to thank Shay, thank you so much, for this opportunity, and the Fidalgo Democrats. And I also like to thank my amazing team. I couldn't do all this without them, they're just amazing. And the supporters, oh my goodness, the supporters, you all are just, I mean, I almost wanna cry sometimes, I'm so overwhelmed at how wonderful you've been. And then also, I'm so grateful for the opportunity for you all to be here today, giving me this opportunity, it's an honor. And last, I'm asking for your vote. Okay, maybe begging a little, but.
So I would like to thank Shay, Barbara, and all the Fidalgo Democrats who helped make this event happen. And all of you in the audience for your attention tonight, because it's not easy to stay awake after dinner time. I hope that our discussion tonight helped you to better understand me personally as a candidate, and also understand my position on some of the many opportunities and challenges that face the port today. While my opponent, Diana Chonka, has withdrawn from the race and graciously shown me her support, her name will still appear on the ballot when you receive it next month. If after tonight you decide to vote for me, please check that box on the ballot. The Skagit County Elections Office still needs something to count.